Hey guys, welcome back to Warpaint Off-Road. Today, I'm going to show you the next step in the project CJ. Basically going to be pulling the motor and transmission out of it. The motor in this vehicle, if you've watched past videos, is very, very tired.
Hi, I'm Carol.
So I'm going to pull it out, send it off to the machine shop, but while it's out, I'm going to separate the trans from it, and I'm going to rebuild that myself here, so that'll be in a future video. But these old small block Chevy 350s don't have a lot to them, so I'm going to basically show you guys how simple it can be to pull a motor out of a vehicle, especially an old Jeep. So typically, guys, you would just pop the hood, lay it back on the windshield. I don't have the clearance above my door to actually be able to do that. So I'm going to remove the hood, throw it back on top of the roll cage, pull the front clip off just to make it a little bit easier to work around and get to. Start pulling apart stuff on the motor. So let's get to it. Removing the bolts on Jeeps, it's super easy, right? 3 bolts on each side. You can lift the hood right off. And that's the nice part about a Texas vehicle or anything really from the South and out of that Rust Belt is there's no rust, right? Or very limited rust. So these bolts, even though this hood presumably has probably not been removed since the vehicle was new in 1978, they're turning no problem. And this is a great trick when disassembling a vehicle. You always want to bag and tag the bolts so that you know exactly where they came from when it's time to put it back together. One other step, I mentioned it before, I just want to touch base on it again because it's just that important. Guys, I have so many bags here with bolts labeled, what went to the hood, what went to the fender, what was a body mount. You'll think you can't screw it up, but projects always take longer than you think, and by the time you get back to those bolts and you look at them, you're going to have absolutely no idea what went where. It just makes it 1,000 times easier. When in doubt, throw it in a 2-cent plastic bag, label it. You might never use them. You might get new bolts, that's fine, but at least you'll have something original to compare them to, and it'll make it a lot easier when you start to put this adult Lego set back together. So make sure you do that.
A few moments later.
What can I say? It's Texas, and it's hot.
It's so damn hot. Milk was a bad choice.
I know that looked like it only took about 30 seconds or so to do. It took a little bit longer than that, and I had to call it quits, get on with the rest of my life. But I'm back in the garage today with a fresh shirt. We're gonna start pulling the accessories. Now, obviously these look like they've been there for a really long time. And what you didn't see is I actually sprayed all of these nuts and bolts that I'm gonna have to remove with penetrant, just to help loosen up things that are old and may have a little bit of rust in those threads. So we're making a little bit of progress. My neighbor decided to come over and hang out. I'm all for extra help, people that are interested in Jeeps, and he must be crossing the line because he happens to be a Toyota guy, and nothing proves it better than his drink of choice. Back to the man stuff. When it comes to removing your distributor, you can just pull it out if you're completely redoing the motor, but it is easier to mark the cylinders and make sure you know exactly how to put it back in to help time your motor appropriately. But in this case, we're not doing that. So on to removing the intake manifold, and we're almost there. All right, guys, and it's finally time to actually pull the engine and transmission out of this thing. I got the kiddos with me today. They're actually going to tell you what the next step is right now.
Okay, here's what we're gonna do next. So this is the engine temperature sensor, and it's gotta come out. Next, we have to remove the oil pressure sensor. So right now, my dad's taking out the starter.
When you're gonna pull your engine and transmission together, you wanna make sure that while it's in the vehicle and stable, that you take the dust cover off the bottom of your transmission. That will expose your torque converter and your flywheel. And you'll notice on the Chevy 350, there's actually 3 bolts right here that have to come apart to separate the transmission from the motor. I'm gonna separate the transmission from the motor after it's out, and once it's sitting on the floor or on an old tire or on an engine stand, it's a lot harder to get to the bottom of it, so it's best to do it while you're in the vehicle. So we're gonna get that done, pull this motor out. Just watch your toes. All right, so we've done a lot of work, and now is the time. We lost my daughter. She had to go back inside, middle school homework, right? But we still got this guy over here.
Hi.
He's hanging out. What you want to do when you're lifting a motor out is you want to hook it up. This contraption right here is an engine or a load leveler. It allows you to kind of move the fulcrum point, basically the pick point, so that you can balance the motor and lift it out straight, which is kind of nice. But you want to jack it up with your engine hoist till you have very, very, very minor pressure on it, and then start removing the motor mount bolts. We're going to take this bolt out of this side, take the other one out of the other side, and at that point we can start lifting this motor and moving it out. All right, buddy. I think we're about ready to start pulling it out. What do you think?
Sure.
Don't sound so excited there. That should be good, bud. That should be good.
It's steady.
Good job, dude. Look, motor's out.
Yep.
So there you have it, right? I had to take a 350 small block Chevy out of a Jeep, and these two goobers just helped me get the transmission off the back of this motor so we can get it off to the machine shop and have it rebuilt. But if it wasn't for these two guys right here, I wouldn't have been able to do it in near the amount of time. So thanks to them, and you'll definitely see them in a future video. This does not have to be that difficult. Couple of bolts, couple of plugs, an engine hoist, a little bit of help from even a 9 and an 11-year-old, and it'll come right out, no problem. That motor is gonna be off to the engine shop this week. That's something that I cannot do at home in my garage, but I'm definitely gonna show you guys how to rebuild that 350 trans. I'm also gonna show you guys how to rebuild your own custom frame. So stay tuned, make sure you share this with your friends, and watch this project CJ come along on a complete and total budget with V8 power, 40s, and 1-tons. Guys, get out there and build something, because this sport does not have to be expensive if you know how to do it. And there's plenty of people out there showing you how.